from the state of Florida, who is of Palestinian descent as well, goes back to the West Bank and is hanging out with his family. Settlers attack him. They beat him near to death. And then they stop the ambulance from reaching him. The American dies. Okay? This is not the first, nor most likely will be the last American citizen that has been killed by Israelis or the Israeli state directly. Okay? That is where we're at. Let's take a look.
It's from the family of a young American man beaten to death by settlers in the West Bank. Hundreds of Palestinians turned out for the funeral of Sayfullah Musalat on Sunday. The 20-year-old was born in Florida to parents of Palestinian heritage. The Palestinian Health Ministry and eyewitnesses say settlers severely beat him in a town north of Ramallah. His family says that he was trying to protect their land. The State Department says it's aware of reports, and Israel says it's investigating what it calls a confrontation. Let's get more from our Jeremy Diamond. Jeremy, what more can you tell us about this American that was killed in the West Bank? I know you and your team have been doing some fantastic reporting. Just bring us up to date with the very latest.
Well, Issa, he is an American citizen, but in many ways, what has happened to Saif Musalat is part and parcel of the violence that we have seen against Palestinians in the West Bank, both by the Israeli military, but also by Israeli settlers. And that is the context with which to view this story. And in fact, as we were covering this story, our team as well also came under attack from Israeli settlers in the area.
In the back of an ambulance, Saif Musalat's aunt says one final goodbye. She is far from alone. Hundreds in this West Bank town have come to honor the American son who is deeply rooted in his Palestinian community. Saif was killed on Friday, just 2 weeks before his 21st birthday. Beaten to death by Israeli settlers, according to his family. Those settlers also shot and killed another Palestinian man in the same attack, according to eyewitnesses.
This is so lame, dude. I'm on. Is your CPU a 13th or 14th gen Intel CPU? It might be like, it might legitimately be the CPU, honestly. I don't know what it is, but it's so fucking annoying. All right, I'm gonna keep trying to watch the video and hope that it doesn't actually fucking stutter.
In the West Bank.
Today it is an American citizen being put to rest here, but over the course of the last 20 months of this war, nearly 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, according to the United Nations. But today, Saif Musalat's family is demanding an American investigation into his death.
We want justice.
His father, Kamel, was home in Florida, where he runs an ice cream shop with his son, when he got the call that Saif had been attacked by settlers.
You never think that it's your son or anything like that who is this happening to. And then I got word that it was my son. He was hit, he was beaten, he lost conscience, but nobody could get to him. Ambulance couldn't come in. Why? Because the IDF restricted that. The IDF blocked that.
So you hold the Israeli military?
I hold the Israeli military just as responsible as the settlers and the American government for not doing anything about this.
The State Department said it is aware of Saif's death, but declined to comment further on calls for an investigation. Israeli authorities say they are investigating but have not made any arrests. For 2 months now, Palestinians here say Israeli settlers have been encroaching on their land and terrorizing Palestinians who try and access it. This was the scene on Friday as Saif and other Palestinians tried to reach their farmland. Hafez Abdel-Jabbar said he saw settlers chase after a man he would later learn was Saif.
They ran up the hill, they caught Muslim, they started beating him with sticks.
By the time he reached Saif's body, he was already dead. As we head to the location where Saif's body was retrieved, a white vehicle suddenly appears behind.
Yeah, the media crew that also went to cover this got attacked by the fucking settlers as well. They are such freaks, dude. It is crazy. Here's a Haaretz reporter on it. I was today in the area where an American Palestinian citizen and another young Palestinian were killed last night. And the main thing I have to say is that a gang of settlers, among them the most violent I've ever seen, has emerged there. This isn't the first time a violent attack has occurred right there. In fact, last week, German journalists were attacked there. It's also not far from the village of Malik, where a few weeks ago, settlers set houses on fire. At the end of April, in the same area, houses were torched in the village of Sinjil. Yesterday, 2 masked Jewish individuals were arrested there and brought this evening for an extension of their detention. A reservist soldier was also arrested, but has already been released by the military police after an investigation. Along with a Palestinian suspected of stone throwing, there's evidence that this Palestinian was attacked with batons before being arrested and was brought on Monday for an extension at Ofer. The police are demanding that the Palestinian Authority hand over the 2 bodies of the results of an autopsy. Now it's true, without bodies or an autopsy, investigating the death of the Palestinian becomes difficult, to say the least. But how do we get here? Due to a complete lack of enforcement, due to a lack of prevention, and because gangs are allowed to run wild. And this is the fault of the Israeli authorities, who along the way have earned the complete and justified distrust of the Palestinians, sadly. By the way, yesterday's event began when Palestinians arrived together at an area that the settlers had also taken over. They call it a farm. They arrived together because it's no longer possible to go there alone due to, yes, you guessed it, the violence. In last night's incident, 2 settlers were also injured by stone throwing. And according to the settlers, Palestinians set their equipment on fire. I mean, this is accelerated Jim Crow South in the West Bank. There is a military occupation that demands that literally reinforces the Jim Crow South style lynching operations. The government takes advantage of this. They use the Klan, like the Jewish version of the Klan, basically, as its pioneers. It is state-sanctioned terrorism. This is a process in which they take up further and further land. They go in and they steal more land every day. It's completely insane. This is the West Bank, by the way. This is not Gaza. An Israeli settler asked Hilltop Youth terrorists how they'll punish murder of Palestinian, burning, strangling, or shooting. He gave each a prize for his answer. The lesser prize went to the one who said strangling because he considered him too gentle.
נוער הגבעות, שיהיה לכם בהצלחה. אתם עכשיו בגבעה שלכם, בחווה שלכם, תפסתם מישהו, גנב לכם עז. לא יהודי. מה אתם עושים לו? שורפים אותו, יורים בו, חונקים אותו, סוקלים אותו. חונקים אותו, אחי. רגע, כל אחד... שנייה, מה היה תפריט שאלות? חונק, שורף. שורפים אותו, סוקלים אותו, או יורים בו? כן. מה, זה פלילי, זה חונקים אותו. חונקים אותו, כן. מה יש לך, אחי? אתה חונק אותו, זורק אותו בתוך איזה נערה. כן. חונקים אותו, אין סימנים. אתה? יורה בו. יורה בו? שורף אותו. שורף אותו. שורף אותו קיבלת, וחונק אותו, היית עדין, קיבלת, בסדר? יאללה, תתחדשו, חבר'ה. ביי, חברים.
This is the front line. This is the other side of the story. This is the West Bank. Okay? This is what the going on in the West Bank every goddamn day, where they go in and they light entire villages on fire. As settler pogroms surge, Israel's National Security Minister Ben Gvir announced the creation of a new police force composed of settlers in the occupied West Bank at the Tomb of the Patriarchs, where Gvir's idol, a settler named Baruch Goldstein, massacred 29 Palestinian worshippers. This is the other side of the story that also doesn't get a lot of coverage.
Father says
we are completely aware of all this shit, and we're letting them do it. We love it. We enjoy it. Here in the United States of America, we are not oblivious to this reality. We know it. Okay? Settlers have always been a blight. Okay? But this past year, post-October 7, they have been even further emboldened. The Benjamin Netanyahu coalition with Itamar Ben-Gvir, the incredibly right-wing coalition that they created, basically gave them carte blanche. You know these people. You know who the leaders are. You know how they operate. It's not like they hide their operations. They're very proud of their operations. As Louis Theroux, when he went and had a conversation with one of the leaders of the settlers, the settler terrorists, she very openly stated on BBC that the government was sanctioning this. The government loves that they're doing this.
We have a group of settlers who are now following us in their vehicle. They've put their masks on as well, which is a concerning indication.
At an intersection, the settlers get out and try to pelt our vehicle. But we manage to approach a nearby Israeli border police vehicle, and the settlers turn around.
He got out of the car with the gun or something? No, he's trying to get rocks. Shoot.
When not in front of the camera, the Israeli government encourages the settler violence very directly. I mean, they don't arrest them. And they've gotten so out of control that Bezalel Smotrich literally told the settlers not to fucking beat up the IDF. They've gotten so out of control that sometimes they will beat on IDF. Like, they will beat on the very same military occupation that protects them with their fucking weapons. Okay? It's insane. This is the purest distillation of Zionism, okay? That's what it is. This is the tip of the spear. Only a couple of weeks ago, they thought that the IDF was not sufficiently allowing them to kill Palestinians and do pogroms, so they fucking attacked the Israeli occupying force soldiers, who are not innocent victims in this at all. They are participants. They're willing participants in this. Important to note that this is taking place in the West Bank, ruled by the secular Fatah that has renounced violence and recognizes Israel. No matter how the Palestinians react, they are met with oppression. Exactly. And as a matter of fact, Fatah, and specifically the Palestinian Authority, is literally an Israeli security function. The Israeli government utilizes the Palestinian Authority as a part of its security apparatus. The Palestinian Authority collaborates with the Israeli government. The Palestinian Authority actively will go after anyone who is engaging in the legal right and the moral right to resist against the illegal Israeli occupation. They play a formative role. They play a formative role in suppressing any sort of legal Palestinian resistance in the West Bank. Okay? It is crazy. Who are the PA? The Palestinian Authority, are, de facto, basically capos in this process. And this is before we look at the harrowing sights coming out of the Gaza Strip, where the ethnic cleansing operation is in full swing. This is why I say the notion of a two-state solution is bullshit. It's already one state.
Shoot.
Everyone okay?
Yeah, shoot.
Go, drive, keep driving.
The masked men smashed the rear windshield of our car, but we managed to speed off unharmed.
No, they went down.
They turned.
It is just a small window into the reality here.
If it would have took us 5 more seconds, we all would have been beaten with
You
these
think they would
sticks.
have beaten
Yes,
us?
sir.
But your son was also killed.
In January 2024. By a settler. Simply just being there barbecuing.
What does that feel like to have to constantly try and tell the world what's happening?
You scream into the whole world, and the whole world is watching. Simply silent. Seeing all these mothers put their sons that they worked so hard to raise them up for 20 years, and you pick them up and you put them in the ground under the sky, and the silence go on and on and on.
And Israeli police tell us that they have opened an investigation into the attack on our team, and they say that they, quote, take such matters extremely seriously. We will.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They fucking do not. The Israeli occupying force literally sniped a American citizen of Turkish descent who was partaking in the protest in the West Bank. Like, she was in the vicinity of a protest. They shot her in the head. No justice. That happened under Biden, by the way. No justice was ever served. No punishments were ever dished out. So all of these statements coming from like Mike Huckabee, for example, where is it? He had a statement on this. I've asked Israel to aggressively investigate the murder of Saif Moussalet, an American citizen who was visiting family in Sinjil when he was beaten to death. There must be accountability for this criminal and terrorist act. Saif was just 20 years old. There's no way out of this. Okay? Like, these people have to be arrested and prosecuted, and the Israeli state is not going to do it. They have to literally go through a process of denazification in Israel, straight up. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee calls for the settler killing of American slave Moussalet a criminal and a terrorist act, asked Israel to aggressively investigate. Note, not just settlers, Israeli forces also blocked ambulances from Saif. Trump had removed sanctions on the settlers. The minor sanctions that Biden had put on the settlers, he also went back and forth on. Some of the settlers, not even all of them. Some of the worst. Saif Moussalet's dad says U.S. leaders still haven't reached out days after the Israeli settlers killed his son. And it wasn't just settlers. Soldiers blocked ambulances for hours. Saif is now the 7th American killed by Israeli violence in the last 21 months. Now, understand something. What is the treatment? What is the treatment for an American who is of Palestinian descent versus an American from New Jersey can join the foreign army of the Israeli occupying forces to do war crimes and get taken hostage in the process? And the media cycle is dominated by how fucking spectacular of an injustice this is. An American Israeli dual citizen can join the Israeli military, a foreign military, and get taken hostage or a prisoner of war in the process. Okay, as he has joined the war crime brigade, and the media will talk about how this is a big, beautiful boy. This is our American son. This is our American son. How dare Hamas do this? How dare Hamas do this? He is an innocent hostage. But when an American civilian is visiting their family in the West Bank and gets killed by psychopathic, far-right Jewish Nazis, the Jewish Klan, and is victim to a lynch mob, and the Israeli military and the settlers stop an ambulance from even reaching this person, as is normal practice in the West Bank, by the way, for those of you who don't know, there is no similar reaction. The state doesn't reach out to the fucking family. The state does not even reach out to the family. Nothing comes of it. No justice is ever served.
Do you know how many Americans the Israeli military has killed in the past 20 months?
Sorry, she's got a meeting. Thank you.
No insight on the Americans killed by the Israeli military, Senator?
I am pro-Israel.
Every single one of these politicians are fucking culpable. Okay? We know this is what's going on, and we let it continue. And anyone who speaks out against it for years was actively suppressed, was considered an enemy, was viciously smeared as an anti-Semite for recognizing this glaringly obvious injustice, the unlimited cruelty, and speaking out against it. You were called an anti-Semite. Demands for your deplatforming. We must fire this person from their job for having an opinion that is consistent with now the majority. And through the last year and a half, as people have consistently protested, more and more people have become aware of this reality. Okay? That's why I tell you not to stop. That's why I tell you to keep pressuring the government to get anyone you can to listen to you, to get them to also join the protest, to get them to also join the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. You can't stop. And you must not stop, especially now when the pressure is amounting. It's becoming undeniable. Saif Musallet, a U.S. citizen of Palestinian descent, was brutally killed in the West Bank while visiting family. The U.S. should conduct an independent investigation into his murder and demand accountability for all those involved. Let's watch this Democracy Now! Clip. Yeah, shout out to Tim Heidecker.
The family of 20-year-old American
Saif
Musallet is demanding justice and for the U.S. government to lead an investigation into his killing by Israeli settlers.
At some point, the settlers descended on us from above with batons and just beat us up. The young Palestinian men that was with me more than myself, and myself as well, is very evident from the bruises on my face. It's important to note that there were Israeli soldiers there. They literally pried us from the settlers' hands while they attacked us while we were on the floor and they were on top of us. Despite that, they've chosen to detain and arrest us and do nothing with the assailants, despite having seen everything and despite having been there. The settlers and the military don't only work hand in hand, they are part and parcel of implementing the same policy of the Israeli government, of the Israeli regime, the policy of ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, the policy of employing as much violence as possible in order to remove Palestinians from their land.
How deep is your ask to the U.S. government to themselves respond to this and to not simply defer to the Israeli government?
I deeply request. I feel he's an American. Like Trump says, America first. Like, so he's an American. So why are you not putting America first? An American has been killed by Israeli violence, Israeli settler violence, Israeli settler. It might be my opinion, but I call it Israeli settler terrorism.
That's what it is. Dude, let's be real. Okay? It's not America first. When it comes to whatever Israel is doing, it's Israel first, okay? Straight up. No, he not legacy American, as the fash will say. It doesn't matter, bro. Rachel Corrie was a legacy American. She's a white woman from Washington. Israel murdered her in the early 2000s. Nothing came of it. It doesn't matter. Israel has killed American soldiers, dude. What are we talking about? USS Liberty. Like, there is no putting an end to this until there is so much pressure that it is undeniable, unavoidable, so much pressure in the public that the American government has to recalculate its allegiance. And they have to change direction. That it becomes unsustainable. We play our part in this. It's that simple. And it's so crazy that there are still people out there who go, oh, dude, you're calling this a Nazi state? It's really fucked up. It hurts my feelings. It's like, dude, fuck your feelings. It is a Nazi state. The fuck does your feelings do not factor into this equation at all? What do you mean? Oh, it makes me uncomfortable. It's like, okay, the reason why it's making you uncomfortable is because you cannot separate yourself and a piece of your identity from this fucking Nazi state. That's not my problem. That's your problem. You have to deal with that. What the fuck are you talking about? There is no way out of this. They're doing Fourth Reich shit over there, and we're still having a conversation surrounding the feelings of people in America in the fucking heart of empire. How selfish. How stupid. How incredibly self-interested. I cannot comprehend how you can be like this. Like, I'm sorry that you were fucking brainwashed into thinking that this state has to be this violent state, this violent entity in the region, and that like somehow is a formative part of your development, a formative part of your identity. Suck my like, what does it have to take? How many Americans do they have to kill? It's clear that they don't care about the Palestinians that Israel kills. Clearly, unfortunately. To look at this like very obvious modern Nazi movement, because that's what Zionism is, doing exactly the same shit that the Nazis did. A fucking lunatic state that is completely belligerent, that have lost the plot, that are conducting an ethnic cleansing operation in Gaza, while also simultaneously maintaining an occupation and subsequent pogroms in the West Bank. And you're just like, oh, but what about my feelings? F your feelings. The very fact that we even spend any time thinking about the personal feelings of Americans, Jewish Americans, Christian Americans, people who are just like, people who still hold on to this notion that like liberal Zionism is actually a reality, whether it's not just like liberal Nazism, liberal fascism, because that's what it is ridiculous.